boy. Let me see here. It's 5:37. I gotta get up at 7 o'clock to get my son to school. I did not know that I was getting him today, which anytime I can get my son or my sons is always a happy time for me. But let me see here. I started working on this tonight at 11 o'clock. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've been at it about 6.5 hours tonight. And I worked on it for about 2 or 3 hours earlier today. So that's about 9 or 10 hours so far, man. And I just pretty much finished up. I haven't put the fire to it yet or anything like that. I'm not doing that right now. I'm gonna do that tomorrow morning. I was really wanting to try to get this done today, but you cannot estimate how things are going to turn out, man. In this line of work, you can just do your best and just hope for the best. There's all your parts, man, that's come out of this thing, brother. And like I said, these are all these really old capacitors you will see in older amps. And the majority of these caps were already cracked. And 2 or 3 of them are so brittle they just broke apart while I was removing them. I went ahead and put 2 new SO239s in there for you too. These look kind of rough, man. Kind of rough. Let me take these off now. Little trick I learned back in Nam. That's a joke. I'm only 34 years old, but I use these as heat sinks, man. When I'm soldering wires on the SO239s, it took me about goddamn a year to learn that. But yeah, that's how you make sure not cause no damage to them while you're putting that heat to them. Works out great. But yeah, man, I went through this thing front and back, side to side, and done everything I read to you on the list. I've made 3 other small videos already. I'm not going to upload them now. I'll add them in the final video. One of them, just real quick. I ain't going to make this long. I got to get into bed, man. There was 2 or 3 other things I was supposed to do today that obviously I was unable to do, so I really just need to stay up all night, but I will not let myself drive my son to school on no sleep. I got to at least have some sleep. But anyway, this 10 ohm Allen Bradley resistor, this broken half I just showed, was right here. And that's where your RF flows through just to get to your driver circuit. That was cracked in half, man. That alone rendered this amplifier useless. There was no way for the RF to get to the driver circuit. So that definitely was one of the issues. Now, I found at least 2 or 3 cold solder joints. One was on one of the 511 picofarad capacitors on the input transformers on this one. It wasn't even soldered on one side. It was completely not even touching. Yeah. This wire right here, as you can see, it's a little tight. You see how it's tight? That's because when I unsoldered that, there was like 2 threads out of what, 9 or 10 threads that was soldered. I don't know what was up with that, but it only had like literally 2 threads soldered. So I mean, I'm glad I did the upgrade on the combiner. And as you see, we got to eliminate a whole coax. See? So now this thing's set up on the combining section like a modern day Texas Star. And like I told you, my buddy over at Texas Star told me that's pretty much a default modification that he also does on DX600s. So instead of the RF flowing through that back, now it's flowing like it normally would. This two-pill section combines right here on that trace, and the trace follows to that switch. And of course I always like to thicken up the solder on the traces. That's just something I like to do. I just don't like the idea of that RF just flowing on something paper thin. It may not help, but it may, who knows. But anyway, I got your metal clad on the output. Oh, another thing. I couldn't believe this, but you know, this is just common mistakes people will make that don't have a lot of experience working on these things, which I understand, man. You know, if you can fix something yourself, there's no need. Which ones are there? I think that's one of them. Anyway, there's supposed to be a 50 picofarad capacitor by factory on this side, a 50 picofarad capacitor on this side, on, you know, one each per two-pill section. Well, it looked like that the cap had blown at some point in time, and someone, give me a second here. Where are they? Here it is. Here it is right here. See if I can't zoom in on that. You see how that says 51? It's a 51 picofarad capacitor. Just look at it as a 50 picofarad capacitor, okay? So that was on one side, and it was supposed to have a 50 picofarad on the other side. It looks like what happened is somebody blew it. It had blown at some point, and somebody just made a simple mistake. And instead of putting a 51 picofarad on the other side, they put a 15. You know, they might have been ambidextrous. Wait, no, ambidextrous. That's what I am. I'm ambidextrous. They might have been dyslexic. That's the word. And just looked at it backwards. It's somewhere right here. There's a 15 picofarad capacitor right here. I think it's one of the red capacitors. I hear you, girl. Get on. I gotta get this video made. So that definitely was an issue. One having a 15 picofarad load on the output, while the other one had a 15 picofarad. So that definitely was an issue. So I got the caps changed right here for you, man. Just went ahead and put you an extra 1,000 right there. This is what was on there, and it was blown like I thought it probably was. I checked it just for the fun of it. Oh, get over here. Check this out. These were your chokes feeding the DC to your to the output of your transformer. Now, I have never fired up this meter before on video, but screw it, I'll go ahead and fire it up anyway. Alright, give me 1 second. Let me zero it out. So this is something that a lot of people will be in the blind of if you don't have one of these type of meters. Alright, I'm going to put the first one on the meter. Make this real quick. Me making something quick. I tell you what, I don't know how to do that, do I? So you got 14.14 microhenries. Remember that. I'm hooking up the other one. Now look at this one. 1.5. I would like to say that was just an error when they were put in, because I just don't see I just don't see that getting hot enough to damage that ferrite for it to lose its permeability. So basically one has almost a 14 times higher permeability than the other. You know, of course that could cause some ripple going back on your DC line. So now you've got a little bit more inductance plus thicker wire to help keep that ripple, to help keep that RF from flowing that direction. Went ahead and replaced the coupling cap, the 10 microhenry. Went ahead and replaced the 200,000 picofarad capacitor right here on the keying circuit. Basically everywhere that you've seen one of these right here, I went ahead and put 104s. That's these yellow caps you see. You'll see Texas Star, they'll use blue 104s, but I put them in every single section where they came off. I made sure to replace them. Got your metals installed, my friend. I've never put metals on a Texas Star before. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Scorpion over there at the Scorpion Repair Shop. And somebody told me he's been putting some metals in Texas Stars, which is a really cool idea. I'm very surprised that I've never had anybody ask me to yet. That's the only reason I hadn't done it yet. They do take a bit, more time to put in, but that right there was about the best way to install them. The best way. And if you look at some VHF, UHF amplifiers, you will see that that's how they install them as well. I might pull one out on this video and talk about metals a little bit, but I ain't really got the time. I may not, I don't know. But anyway, so got your metals on the output, got lucky and got your metals on the input. Okay, the only place in the tuning section of the amplifier that I have not replaced to a metal is this one right here. Okay, one reason is I want to wait and make sure the input reflect looks good and everything, just in case I got to retune it. Another thing, that is a tight spot, man. I will have to maneuver something pretty crazy to get a metal down in there. That is a tight spot, but like I told you before, I will do my best. So went ahead and did the full power wire upgrade. I've already soldered them for Anderson connectors. That's another thing I was going to tell you, man. I searched through my stuff. I don't have any brand new Anderson connectors, but I did find you 2 Anderson connectors. So I am going to throw you a 175 amp Anderson connector on here, and then I'm going to send you one with brand new fingers for you to put on your power wire at the house. Free of charge, of course. I'm just going through this now so I won't have to do it in the rest of the video. So yeah, got your full power wire upgrade all the way back to the transformers. Put a Teflon coax right here. This one right here was already on it. I tested it. It wasn't shorted. Everything was good with that. Oh boy, let me see. Let's turn the amplifier this direction. I cleaned it up a good bit. I'm sure you can probably tell that already. I did clean it up a little bit. You got to clean up older amps like this to even solder in spots. Let's see here. I'm just kind of scanning. I didn't have to put a new combiner in. The combiner was still good. I checked the inductance on it. It was still good. So basically I flipped it around. It was basically using this pad right here. If you see that little square pad right there, which is not used in the newer Texas Stars. So basically I flipped it around, just mimicked the way they are done now. This right here is your tuning capacitor, your in-between tune capacitor is what I like to say. The output of the 1-pill and the input of the 4-pill section. I went ahead and replaced that to a metal for you. It probably took me about dang 20 minutes to do that. I won't get into why. I had to reposition the splitter to make it fit just right and all that good stuff. So, I think that's about it, man. If I think of anything else that I've done when I come back, at this point, man, I'm hoping that I can hook this bad boy up and she is working beautiful. I am praying to God that will be the case, but I had a lot of stuff I was supposed to be doing today I did not get to. I've also got a lot of stuff put on eBay. Yeah, get some stuff on eBay, because I basically am working on a lot of projects like this one. You know how behind I am. There's a couple of let's put it this way: when you work on a couple of projects in a row that you're not making anything off of, or let's say you're making a little bit off of, like builds, for example. If you do 3 or 4 builds in a row that's already been paid for, you're not making no money while you're doing them, being backed up like I am. So gotta pop something on eBay here and there to keep the money flowing. So that's what I'm having to do for that, and another reason too. Working on strengthening my HG stock for some cushion transistors, so these little delays we're getting hit with from the factory will not affect me. Will not affect my customers from having to wait, so I can go into my backup stock whenever we get hit with a delay. All right, bud. Well, I think that's it, man. Took the factory choke off right here and put another choke on. It's got more inductance on that now, and a little bit thicker wire. And the diode, I changed the diode on the relay right here. It had a germanium diode on there. That did not come on their factory. Somebody had put that on there. I guess they blew the diode, and I'm guessing it had something to do with what's going on right here, with all this. But I went ahead and put a new silicon diode in there, and I got the 3 amp silicon diode right there as well. This diode was fine. I could have put it back in there, but I knew this wire was going to be going over it, so I thought it'd be best just go ahead and put that style in. And I think that's it, man. Like I said, man, got you some new SO239s now. I'm going to put you a sticker back there, because I know that sticker's worn off. I'm going to find you an SSB lens for this right here. And I just want to make sure all the lamps are working. Make sure that meter's working. And by the way, I did find you a meter that I'm going to send with you, just in case you do ever decide to change this front right here. Alright, brother, I think that's about it, man. It looks good. It looks a lot good compared to what it was looking like beforehand. It looks a lot less congested, if you ask me. I mean, that's what I'm saying, man. Parts get smaller. I mean, let's see how big this part is right here. Well, this is the same part, 15 more volts. It can handle 15 more volts. See, things get smaller as time goes on. For example, that big part right there gets a little bit smaller. These big box capacitors right here turns into these tiny little yellow caps, you see. And so yeah, man, it's a lot less congested. All right, man, let me get off this thing. I'm already boring you now, but wish me luck, man. I'll put the fire to it, test the voltage first. I'll tell you about the one unique thing about this, about the 600s, is they tie out everything off one bias circuit. I've thought about doing a little modification to 600s in the future to add 2 separate bias circuits the way their current amplifiers are, but you would have to change pretty much the whole circuit, period, just because the way they got it now is they're using a 8 point, what is that? Is that a gray? Big boys race our young girls, but violent generally. Big boys race our young girls, but so that's a 6.8 ohm resistor. So yeah, they got the 25 ohm resistor with a 6.8 and a voltage dividing circuit, and it puts it just perfect to give 0.68 volts, 100 mils to all 5 of these transistors. Which, as you can see, man, this this capacitor is over 30 plus years. I mean, resistors are over 30 plus years old, and it hadn't burnt, so obviously it's big enough, right? I think in the future, they just decided to do 2 separate circuits. You know how they revise things and change things. Alright, buddy, I'll be back, man. Just want to do an update video for you. I'm off to hit the sack onto the flat side. The GK Gatekeepers said that, and I'm gone now. 73.